Here. Enigma Drakes, plural. Crackling Drake. And a whole bunch more. Crackling Drake will be the selection there, and now Surveil. Ari Lack saying Thought Eraser may be the most powerful card in Standard. Not sure how you felt about that. Can you remind
Fiction.
me? Hard fiction for you.
If you read Search for Escanta, it's actually, this is, we can talk about that in a little bit.
Here's a notion, Rain. Please continue.
Just, someone from Play Design tweeted out a couple months ago, you could change one card in Standard to make Standard better. What would you change? And said, this is prior to guilds, I think.
Okay.
And I said, search for Escanta. It's like not close to okay, incentivizes all the bad things. And I got some responses of like, well, it's not even any decks right now, really. And it's like, well, even if that's true forever, which it won't be, you try to just create the world you actually want to create, not play revisionist history the whole time about what happened to end up being good. And now it's just all in all these decks and it's busted again.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
Not much of a surprise.
Oh, but the format's too fast. You can't play Search for Escanta. It's not even powerful. Are you out of your mind?
It's a pretty good card.
It's not even close.
Yeah, it's a pretty good card.
How about this, Ari? We'll play some games. You get Thought Eraser in your opening hand, and I get Search for Escanta, and we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah?
Let's play some sets.
I love about Ari, definitive in his stances. And right most of the time, to be fair. Basilica Bellhaunt here.
Very popular card for these Esper mid-range strategies. It's gold, so it triggers some stuff. You have not the best matchup against aggressive strategies. It does a lot of work here. This is a matchup where it is an underperformer. The Izzet Drake's deck usually has stuff left over to discard pretty easily, and it doesn't block anything. They're all in the air.
Terramander's going to be the follow-up there for Jessup. Again, do keep in mind that the names and light totals are backwards here. So Jessup is actually on your left, and Samuel Morrison's on your right. And Jessup is your Izzet Drake's player, just like Bradley Carpenter and Danny Jessup, his brother before him. I wouldn't be surprised if all of those players were playing that deck this weekend. Here comes the Bellhaunt. The follow-up is Hostage Taker. Powerful. Is there a dive down here for Jessup? There is not. Terramander will be selected. We're going to head back over to Morrison. Follow-up now is Opt, triggering a little scry action, making the Enigma Drake a little bit larger. Hostage Taker, a card that I always felt would be pretty good at some point. Looks like we've worked ourselves into a format where it is pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's, certainly you can't complain on rate. It's just the question of, is there enough small stuff to steal? Is there a Demir-style deck that's interested in playing with any creatures at all? That's the question, I think, more than is Hostage Taker powerful. Obviously, it's very good.
Well, this is a pretty nice turn here for Samuel Morrison. Deputy Attention took care of not one, but two copies of Enigma Drake, and then Hostage Taker is going to allow him to play the Terramander that was underneath it. Now, all of a sudden, the Izzet Drake's player is extremely far behind, and there's another Enigma Drake. I guess that one didn't get swallowed up by the Deputy, pardon me.
And if you want to see a recipe for battling, Izzet Drake's is really popular, what can I play to make my matchup better there? Creatures that answer their creatures is a really good path, because you see, these decks play Dive Down. Andrew Justice has gone a little bit deeper with main deck copies of Negate and Spell Pierce. Those aren't necessarily the best answers to things like Deputy Detentions and Hostage Taker. Ravenous Chupacabra, you can put that on the list as well. So that's worth keeping in mind here, as you're seeing, I think, the Esper mid-range deck managing these creatures the right way, which is just try to do it through creatures instead of spells.
Terramander was going for broke, looking to adapt. However, a shock broke that up. Jessup is going to tap for a pretty healthy amount here. Does he have a follow-up? It looks like he does, and a Terramander of his own. And Samuel Morrison is falling down to 3. One thing Samuel Morrison doesn't have right now, as good as that Deputy Detention and Hostage Taker was, is really a good way to answer flyers. Well, I take that back. There is Lyra Dawnbringer. Terramander is now a 5/5. Can we cross the finish line? Jessup going to do a little bit of thinking, with no real clean answer to the 5/5 flyer that has First Strike and Lifelink, of course. It looks like there could be a struggle here. but he will attack with both of the flyers. The block will be on the Enigma Drake. Dive down.
Just to get the toughness over 5 here to survive the first strike.
And now pass the turn back. Morrison, how much can he attack for? 3, 4, 5, 6 on the ground? That doesn't appear to be enough right now to get the job done, as Jessup is at 10. Morrison at 3. Both these flyers are lethal. And, you know, that turn where both those Enigma Drakes got swallowed up and Terramander got cast, you had to assume that Samuel Morrison was going to be a huge favorite in this game. I can't believe that's not the case, and he's actually just going to concede.
Yeah, I mean, if you said that Deputy of Detentions will not die and that Samuel loses, I would have bet against that. Well, there you go.
You would have been a loser in that bet, as Andrew Jessup does win game number 1 here over Samuel Morrison. We'll take a look at the sideboards here. As you see, these players will speed through it a little bit. I do want to start with Samuel Morrison, who's got 3 negates, 2 Karn Sign of Urza, 2 Settle the Wreckage, 2 Consecrate Consume, another Hostage Taker, a Deploy, a Cast Down, a Sorcerer's Spyglass, a Disinformation Campaign, and a copy of the Eldest Reborn.
Well, I really like the 1 copy of Cast Down. I would be interested, I think, in the extra copy of Hostage Taker here. I'm not a huge fan of negate against Izzet Drakes, even though they're all spells, because they have the battle's over the creatures, and then their ways of protecting the creatures are really cheap, so negate doesn't line up the right way there. That said, there are a lot of spells. You may want to bring it in. I also, honestly, I don't mind the Eldest Reborn in this matchup either. I know it's a little bit on the slow side, but the games typically drag a bit post-board, and any sort of removal spell that works around Dive Down, I think, is worth considering.
Other side of things, I know you've got Jessup sideboard in front of you, a player who said, again, he's played over 200 matches on Magic Online, Magic Arena with this deck. He's ready for this tournament.
2 Entrancing Melody, 2 Disdainful Stroke, 3 Niv Mizzet, Perun, 2 Treasure Map, 2 Rawl, Izzet Viceroy, 2 Shivan Fire, 2 Merfolk Trickster. So I think the stars here are the Treasure Maps and the Rawl, Izzet Viceroy. Not the easiest cards for Esper midrange to handle. I like the Niv Mizzets in this matchup as well, just a way of being able to fight through the anti-spell measures. And Disdainful Stroke is justifiable. I don't know how much of that you really want to bring in. We're talking about a lot of cards there, and this is a matchup where your negates are good and your shocks and lava coils are also good. Usually it's one thing or the other. Here it's both. So I don't know if Andrew really has the most room to be cutting down to add Disdainful Stroke, but I think it's justifiable. There's plenty of 4+s in Samuel's deck.
Well, those are the options there for both players. You see they're just finishing shuffling up and getting ready here for game number 2. This standard format is diverse. That's what makes it so great. In round number 1, we saw Tom Ross with mono white aggro take care of Bant Nexus. Then the other side of things, in round 1, we saw Joe Lisette with Bant Nexus take care of Esper Control. Now we're watching Esper Midrange and Izzet Drakes. We're seeing a little bit of everything, man.
Yeah, no, there's both a wide array of decks in absolute terms, and the strategies are different too. Like sometimes you have these diverse metagames where there's a lot of different decks, but they all basically do the same thing, or the interaction points are all very similar. And here, like I said at the top of the broadcast, if you like aggro, mid-range, control, combo, tempo-style decks, whatever, there's a viable strategy that fits.
We are underway. Samuel Morrison going to lead things off with a Swamp. It'll be an Island and a Terramander there for Andrew Jessup. Drowned Catacombs into Thought Eraser. There you see Ral. You also see Charter Course and a Shock, along with an Island and a Steam Vents.
Be really surprised here if Samuel does not take Charter Course.
Yeah, that 1-2 punch. That's such a huge upgrade for this deck that I think has really gone under the radar. Just the fact that they have a 1-drop to turn Charter Course into a draw 2.
Yep, and it's not like Terramander's only good on the opening turn.
Mm-hmm.
It's another very powerful creature once the game drags a little bit.
The Surveil there from the discard spell will allow Samuel, to put a Discovery into the graveyard.
I mean, if you're in Ari's camp of Thought Eraser is the best card, that turn is what you would point to, because now Samuel has perfect information to work with about the contents of Jessup's hand, and Jessup's hand is super disjointed in the absence of it. It's just a Shock and a Rawl he's very far away from being able to play. Well,
I will say this to Ari's statement about Thought Eraser being the best card. I have a history of casting Castigate almost 10 years ago in Solar Flare, and that card was great then. I think the formats are somewhat similar, but also this is kind of a Castigate in some ways. Doesn't exile, but instead of letting you exile, you get to make sure you hit your 3rd land drop a lot of the time.
And for a deck like this that really wants its land drops, its multiple colors,
It's nice. It's nice.
Well, that was the window there with Morrison going for a proactive play there and Jessup having the disdainful stroke. With land number 5, you could have resolved Raul. Missed it last turn, but has it this turn.
And Raul will resolve. Jessup will get a little bit of card drawing action going as Seraph of the Scales is now on the battlefield here for Samuel Morrison. Here's a bunch of mana. Geez, for now a Lyra. One of the plans here is just to have some really, really big creatures on the battlefield.
Yep. I mean, at the end of the day, the removal in Izzet Drakes is red removal. They do not handle 5 toughness all that well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes you see Fight with Fire in the sideboard, but typically not.
Opt here from for Andrew. Those names are tricking me a little bit now here in the booth. The follow-up might be a Crackling Drake. It is. And draw a card. Steam Vent's untapped. We'll head back over to Samuel Morrison now. Does he have a removal spell for the Crackling Drake? Would he even want to cast it if he did?
Yeah, I mean, Samuel's creatures are much better at brawling in this spot than the Crackling Drake is. No guarantee that Morrison would use a removal spell here, even if he has it.
And, of course, with that 1 mana available, we know that Dive Down is potentially an option here for Andrew Jessup. Looks like going to start on a removal spell. Going to go with Vrask's Contempted. Raul, okay. So say, I don't really care about you so much there, Crackling Drake. Here come the attackers.
And also just try to shorten up the length of this game.
Mm-hmm. Here is Dive Down. So this plays a little bit interesting to me because I think I would have liked just attacking first.
Right. Yep. Test the waters here, and then you can go ahead and Vrask's Contempt post combat whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You would have at least be able to suss out some information.
Ooh, a second Raul here from Jessup is pretty darn nice. He's thinking about plussing, and now he's thinking maybe he wants to do something else. He will plus. So take a look at the top couple of cards. Island will go to the graveyard. Looks like Shock will go to the hand. Do a quick count.
Yeah, just get your money here. If you're drawing 2 cards a turn, it's going to be hard for Morrison to keep up.
Here's an attack for 7, it looks like. The follow-up will be a Terramander. That thing's not going to take long to turn into a 5/5. That card is ridiculous, man.
Yeah, I mean, the Izzet Drake deck plays a really efficient game of Magic. You know, the first couple of turns is some setup sometimes where you had to take some turns off, cantripping and setting up. But kind of once you get past that point, you do get a little bit of that Delver experience of you're just playing 3 or 4 spells a turn, and they're all high impact, and your opponent's playing 1. They can't catch up that way.
It's going to be a cast down. That'll take care of the Crackling Drake. All right, so now just Terramander left on the battlefield. Morrison. Not going to play. Oh, wow. Lazav. Haven't seen that card much. Just a 1 of in the main deck. Okay.
Well, it is gold, so it passes the Hero Precinct 1 test.
Mm-hmm. Terramander will grow up and adapt. 5/5 flyer now. This is a copy of Discovery. Steam Vents will go to the graveyard. And Jessup was happy with something he found there. Hasn't activated Raul just yet, but will. Plus, put a mountain into the graveyard. And this is exactly what you're talking about. There's Lava Coil. Oof. Take care of the Seraph. This isn't another Lava Coil. This is the Delver experience. That was seeing a lot of cards and doing a lot of things at a low mana cost.
And the Raul still hanging out.
Yep.
And the 5/5 flyer for 1 still hanging out.
Yep. And now all of a sudden, if you're Samuel Morrison, you are really far behind. Just, again, remember, we saw the last game where he had such a great turn with the Hostage Taker and the Deputy Detentions. We saw this game where he went Seraph into Lyra.
Yeah.
And you would think, okay, this is some real trouble here, but Jessup has wiggled his way out of trouble multiple times.
There's just a big discrepancy in the efficiency of the 2 decks.
There really is. There really, really is. Here is Discovery. And I think that Samuel Morrison knows he's in some trouble. Looks like you put the old Consecrate Consume into the graveyard, maybe thinking that, you know what, Consume can take care of the Terramander, but it's actually the Raul that I need some sort of answer to. Because Raul's starting to run away with this game card advantage-wise. This is an opt. Well, looks like Jessup's happy with that card. Here comes an attack for 5. That'll work too. The follow-up. is Enigma Drake. We know that thing's huge. It's got 12 power. Another Pteramander. That's going to adapt for a single blue.
Yeah, you can't get out of this with deputy intentions. Kind of both sides are lethal at this point.
Jessup has made this look pretty clean for his deck. He's gotten himself out of what looked to be some pretty difficult situations. Here is Lyra again. I'm not sure that's long for this world.
Dies to Ral.
Yeah. Boom. Looks like we're actually going to go ultimate, shock, and do all of these things. Oh my goodness. We don't see the Ral. We don't see the Ral ultimate much, but it was good that game. As Andrew Jessup's going to win this game match over Samuel Morrison.